Aloha and welcome to World Awake TV. I'm your host and holistic hacker here, Sky Cubby, beaming in from the Pyramid Studios on the Big Island of Hawaii. We're being bombarded by stress and environmental toxins now more than ever, and people need solutions that really work. So I'll be drawing from a lifelong dedication to my quest for health, pulling from indigenous plant wisdom, as well as cutting-edge health and wellness technologies to share what I call the ancient future of food. We'll explore plant wisdom through aspects of Ayurveda, the oldest recorded body of knowledge of health, Taoist tonic herbs, medicinal mushrooms, and we'll even learn some practices of South American cacao shamans. In this series, you'll learn to have invincible immunity and everlasting energy, 9 biohacks to feeling like $1,000,000, how to detox heavy metals and decalcify your pineal gland, and even participate in the raw chocolate diet, plus so much more. Being in the midst of this personal and planetary awakening, it's more important now than ever to take a holistic approach to health and wellness that's aligned with the times. There's been a war being waged with the people, against the people, and one of the weapons that they use is our food as well as our medicine. So these powers who conspire to be through their greedy corporations have also hijacked our water, air, and seed supply. So with the 3 leading causes of death being heart disease, cancer, and stroke, if you think about the 3 friends around you, 1 in 2 women and 1 in 3 men will be diagnosed of cancer. Then it's really an epidemic of malnutrition and toxification, usually having to do with the environment or the food that we put in us. And with these corporations pushing food devoid of nutrients, packed with pesticides, along with their drugs to cure the very diseases they've essentially created. We're going to begin with preventative measures and build up our own natural defenses. So hang with me in part 1 because I really do believe these are the most important. Now, I gotta say, I'm not a doctor, yet I've gained a wealth of knowledge overcoming health issues that I had to try extra hard to overcome due to the hand I was dealt early on. So here's me at 12 years old, looking good on the outside, catching some air skiing, but inside I was suffering with asthma, barely able to breathe, chronic lung infections, thinking at the end of some ski races, this is it. I had a good life. It's a good day to die because I just couldn't breathe. I always found it crazy when I met with doctors who told me that I'd have to take their drug for the rest of my life. A lie, obviously, but or that actually tell me they don't do any prophylactic treatment. Like when I was in the hospital with my dad, they said, no, we're not going to help him. I was offering all these ideas to make him more comfortable or to prevent having to be there longer. But they said, no, we're just here to keep the person from dying. Don't get me wrong, Western medicine has its place, and who knows, I might not even be alive if it wasn't for Western medicine. But I'm here to share an alternative approach. And before we get into the nitty-gritty, I'm going to just give you a little background on myself so you can get a good idea of where all this information is coming from and how it's helped me so much overcome some really challenging health issues. Like many of us, I was forced towards wellness due to health challenges early in my life. And as I deepened into my spiritual awareness and I realized the depth of the mind-body-spirit connection in relation to healthy lifestyle and the foods we eat, then I later created a health and wellness brand called Medicinal Foods out of my desire to share what I learned along my quest for health. And in this first episode, I'm going to share with you the tools I've learned to experience invincible immunity and everlasting energy coming from a compromised immune system and low energy. So I know you will be so happy to feel extra bulletproof, or like I like to say, big pharma proof. So sit back and relax while I take you way back to where it all started on a hippie commune in the early 1970s. Once upon a time, there was a little boy who loved to catch giant bullfrogs. And this was me at my parents' summer camp that I was born at, called Earth Camp 1. My dad took classes in midwifery, and they delivered me at home. A very new and controversial practice at the time, adopting the Native American approach. Just as my head popped out of my mom, I opened big blue eyes and they named me Sky. So I must have been peering down through the veils beforehand, looking down at this amazing pioneering community, thinking, I want to incarnate there. I want to be there this life because these guys are having fun. National Geographic and Newsweek did articles on this summer camp. My parents were friends with interesting people like Tim Leary and Ram Dass. Celebrities like Joan Baez sent their children there. And Saturday Night Live's John Lovitz attended. We'd get visits even from Cheech Marin, who was my dad's college roommate. Growing up hippie definitely had its rewards. I've got fond memories of water fights with the campers, my dad bringing me dripping fresh honeycomb, fresh from the hives, and the girls taking me to the girls' cabin. However, the camp was located at the Southern Cascades, and we'd experienced these cold, wet winters. And as a baby, I traveled to the East Coast to visit my mom's side of the family in upstate New York in Nyack. And I got double pneumonia at 6 months old. I was like the boy in the bubble, and I was probably pumped so full of antibiotics that it wiped out my first level of defense. That first line of defense we have in our healthy gut flora, and I probably spent the rest of my life healing and trying to rebuild. Because anytime we take pharmaceuticals, especially antibiotics, it wipes out that healthy gut flora, and that's so powerful for our immune system. And that's why babies put everything in their mouth, because they're building up that defense. What is our biggest health challenge facing the world today? No, it's not the measles or the swine flu or any of the new designer viruses coming out. Did you guess it? I mentioned it earlier. It's stress. Stress is the monster. It's at the root of so many different ways we get out of balance. And so one of the most important things to look at as far as our immunity and energy at a fundamental level is rest and relaxation. Did you know that if you're not getting enough rest, that your body treats it as if you have a horrible disease? So going to bed before 10 p.m. is a good thing to consider if you think about the Ayurvedic time cycles. There's Vata, Pitta, and Kapha, different mind-body dosha types, but the cleansing cycle happens during that time when, after 10 o'clock. It's when you process your food, your emotions, your experiences during the day. If you push on through that 10 p.m. mark, from 10 to 2, you'll be stimulated by the Pitta time cycle. And that means, when you pick up that second wind, you might not get to sleep again until the Vata cycle starts again at like 2 to 6 a.m. So that's when you start to get heavier and more tired and more sleepy. These time cycles are real. I remember being in my school dorm at the University of Colorado where I ski raced, and everyone would be partying, eating pizza till 2 a.m. and then that Vata time cycle would kick in, and that's when everyone would crash. So try to get to bed before 10. It can mean a world of difference when it comes to rest and relaxation. I know it's easier said than done, but I got it easy because my wife gets to bed at night, and I stay awake for another hour or so. Then I awake refreshed. Next up is movement and meditation. Your lymph is comprised of these tiny one-way valves, and it doesn't move by itself. You must physically move the lymph to pull the waste and toxins from your body. Swimming is great, so is rebounding. Here's my wife jumping up and down on a rebounder, a tiny trampoline, which helps cleanse your blood and lymph and build bone density. Because at the end of your life, it's not running after the mailman. It's lifting up the package and falling on your hip that takes you out. So if you have a choice of exercise when it comes to longevity, and according to Dr. Mercola, go for high intensity weights, sprints, and like we're looking at rebounding, rather than like long distance cardio. I like to swim. I get in the ocean regularly. I do short distance full out sprints as fast as I can, and I feel amazing afterwards. I'm also a free diver, and having had asthma and lung infections, I now free dive on one breath to over 100 feet and spearfish out here in Hawaii. And I'll share with you later how I was able to do that with the help of this ancient Chinese herb. If you're able to get in the ocean, please do so, or take Epsom salt and sea salt baths. It's incredibly cleansing for your body and lymph. And according to my colon hydrotherapist, half an hour in the ocean is equivalent to a few days of cleansing. So it actually exchanges fluids with your body. Also, if you work at a desk, sitting down, it's important to take frequent breaks. I like to do this simple movement, taking breaks from getting up from my desk, and they're just these simple squats to get your blood flowing. So check it out and maybe just follow along with me. It makes all the difference to keep your lymph from getting stagnant. So just inhale, exhale. Just do these squats, inhale, exhale. So just inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. And if you want to get fancy, put a little hop in there. So just keep doing that till you get a nice burn. It moves your lymphs. Inhale down. Whew, okay. That always gets me going. On my way to do some talks in Los Angeles and do some skiing in Tahoe, and I do this to get my legs in shape, and it just works great. So just go do it till it burns. So we talked about the basics of rest and relaxation, movement, and now meditation. How many of you meditate? Wow, that many. Well, how many of you meditate regularly? We all know we should be meditating more, but why? It's not just that we'll feel a little better, get more relaxed and less stress. It goes way beyond that. When we spend 5 to 15 minutes quieting our mind, we open up to all the universe has lined up for us in our flow of our alignment. We live in a universe which is continually delivering to us the match to our current state of vibration. The fundamental way the universe works is to give us exactly what our current mental state is projecting. The key and the real secret is recognizing that the universe is infinite, okay, and that time doesn't exist. If we live in a state of no time, that all things which have ever happened or ever will happen are happening right now, simultaneously on all these timelines, then everything that we've ever desired has also come to pass right now on these infinite timelines. If we find ourselves on a timeline which we don't like, the key is to steer towards the timeline we desire more. Rest and relaxation, sleep and meditation are really the tools to do so. Trust that the universe is in communion with your inner being, who is a tiny fractal of source nonetheless, and has got our backs. Could it be that we simply need to get out of our own way to allow the magic of our desires to come through us? Well, yes. So in terms of health, it's not about beating a cold or fighting a cancer. It often requires a subtle shift towards allowing wellness. And this opening to wellness is just a byproduct of tapping into the state that meditation puts us in. So I'm going to share with you a few variations of single-pointed meditation. And let's just drop right in now. If you're not driving, close your eyes and uncross your legs and inhale. Inhale through your nose and exhale through your nose. Now, I'm not going to say focus on your breath like everyone says. Actually, I've done some experiments with biofeedback machines, and I discovered that when I focus on my breath, my brain waves went wild. So focus your energy, I'll say, at a single point. Try where the air is flowing in and out of your nose, just underneath your nose. If you start to get distracted, then bring your awareness back to the point where the wind is traveling just through underneath your nose. So this meditation for me evolved to focusing on a single point in my consciousness, like a dot of light or an area of light that you can see in your inner consciousness. Another approach is to pick a sound, like the sound of crickets or running water. It doesn't really matter what the sound is, just as long as it's something consistent that you're not going to think about a whole lot, like the hum of a fan or an appliance. Another great meditation for you is the Dzogchen type meditation. It's a very powerful Buddhist meditation, which essentially goes like this. Imagine you're in a river and you're looking up into the river, and the river is flowing through your mind. You have clear water just flowing through your mind, and when you get distracted, just let the river carry that thought down the river. Any of these meditations will work. Will take you to a state that changes your brain waves just by focusing on this one thing or on this one spot, which is my favorite. After a while, you'll find yourself in a really receptive space, connected to your core in a way that you will actually have an original thought, not the drunken monkey mind thought or thought put into us by the media or the environment around us, but more of a special place that your deep core, your inner being, closer to source, maybe channeled from your guides or higher self. Be receptive to these subtle nuances and nudges from your higher self, propelling you onto the timeline that is more in alignment with what you're calling into your experiences, health-wise or otherwise. Just be patient and observe your reality bending to your will. The next step in invincible immunity and everlasting energy is looking at what the hardest thing our body does, which is digest food. There's an ancient Chinese proverb which states the key to prevention is healthy digestion. And we all know an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. We cram this stuff, food, into our body like it's a garbage disposal. And at the end of the day, we expect it to be all taken care of. So what we want to do is look at how to ease that digestion, to increase our digestive fire. And by the time I'm done with you, you're going to be digesting like a champ with BM so good you'll have something to write home about. I'm serious. First, we want to look at how we combine our foods in an ideal way. Just to make it really simple for you, imagine there's a food pyramid, not the dumb pyramid they gave us in school. That doesn't really work. It's flawed in so many ways. But just visualize that the two sides of this food combining pyramid, we've got proteins and starches. The capstone being non-starchy vegetables. At the base of the two sides, these proteins and starches, they combine great with the non-starchy vegetables, but they don't combine very well themselves. When you combine starches and sugars, you get gas. When you combine starches and proteins or sugars and proteins, you get stinky gas because of the putrefaction and the rotting of the protein in the little pockets along your colon. So these starches, when combined with the veggies at the top, and the proteins when they combine, they do really well. And you kind of want to focus on separating your meals out. We're talking non-starchy vegetables like celery, kale, not like potatoes, okay? Ideally, you observe the 80-20 rule. 80% veggies with 20% starches in one meal, or 80% veggies with 20% proteins in another meal. Ideally, they're 3 hours apart, your meals, so you have time to fully digest it. Like have a big salad with some wild-caught salmon or sardines. Not the farm-raised stuff because it's got all the pesticides and toxins. Add a scoop of sauerkraut on there with your protein meal. If you have a grain meal of rice, try doing 80% veggies and 20% rice, and your body will love you for it. If you experience gas or bloating on a regular basis, I highly encourage you to follow the food combining rules. So what's wrong with a little gas, you might ask? Well, this fermentation process is the same chemical reaction that makes alcohol. That's why many recovering alcoholics switch to sweets when they get sober. I've seen friends of mine who've gone sober and they're just like eat so much sugar. It's crazy. Also, the acetaldehyde that's created in the formation of the gas can cause liver toxicity, as well as giving you this overall feeling of like having a hangover. While acting as one's own home brewery may sound enticing to some, in reality, it causes a whole other set of problems. For one, the starch and sugar combines to create a feast of opportunistic organisms such as Candida, a fungus, a yeast mycobacteria, a fungus bacteria hybrid. These organisms can spread throughout the body, feeding on starches and sugars and undigested fats in the blood and skin and the organs, leading to so many of these mystery ailments that people experience today. These organisms can actually root down into the lymph and infect your blood. So if you feel like you've had Candida overgrowth, or if you have it and resulting in like a brain fog and a host of other symptoms, then I've got some great solutions that we'll get to a little bit later on. So it's time to start wrapping up the foundation level of this Invincible Immunity and Everlasting Energy episode. Besides food combining, there's also digestive fire that can be built. The Agni is what they call it in the Veda, where you can stoke your digestive fire with different Ayurvedic herbs like ginger and cardamom. And these warming spices pack such a potent medicinal punch, with numerous studies showing how healing they are for you. There's a great khichdi recipe over at my website, medicinal-foods.com. Just type in khichdi, spelled like that, and it can show you how to infuse your ghee, clarified butter, with some of these spices to help spur on and stoke your digestive fire. So now that we've covered the basics of prevention, we're going to get into some really cutting edge stuff in the next episode of how you can just keep your immune system and how I keep my energy and immune system so strong. So be sure to tune in and learn about the blast my wife makes, which just wipes out any sickness when it tries to creep into our family household. The incredible power of medicinal mushrooms, the world's most powerful antioxidant food, and the world's most powerful antioxidant supplement, which was actually developed by an Einstein-level genius who appears to be the reincarnation of Tesla. How you can cut your supplement intake in half, an Ayurvedic herb that translates to the conqueror of mountains and destroyer of all evils. Yes, please. Some of you know what I'm talking about, and so much more. So just stay tuned. If you've found what you've watched informative so far and you're seeing this somewhere else, then please head over to my YouTube channel and be sure to like, subscribe, and get notified so we can stay in touch over at World Awake TV. And throw down a comment about what you found the most informative in part 1. Remember, together we are dreaming the world awake. Bye for now.